Hello, good evening and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers match build-up show for FC Midtjylland versus Liverpool. I'm your host Keith Plunkett and I'm joined tonight by some familiar faces. I'm joined by Peter Smith. Peter, how are you?
Good evening, all good.
Always a pleasure to have you on here, Pete, all the way from Spain or Catalonia.
Cheers,
I'd say that the streets are a bit miserable over there over the next few days. So I know you'll soak that atmosphere up and enjoy every minute of it.
I drink their tears. You know, they never would you see a club that deserves it more than them. They think they walk on water. Messi's finished. They're a myth. Yeah, welcome to Midtown. Good for them. Good enough.
Very harsh. And Gar Brain, I'm delighted to be joined by Gar again. Gar, how are you?
Hey, Keto, I'm great, mate. Thank you very much. You all right, lads? Yeah.
Great. We're all living the dream here. We're delighted to be joined again by Sam Adams. Sam hasn't been on with us in a while, but delighted to have him back. Sam, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you doing, Keith? You all right, yeah?
Excellent, mate. Excellent, yeah. Looking forward to this game coming up tomorrow. Maybe not for the reasons we usually look forward to a game, but it will have its benefits. So yeah, Midtjylland versus Liverpool, lads. It's a rarity in that it's a dead rubber at the end of a Champions League group. Something Liverpool don't tend to do. Something that a lot of fans thought we should have set up earlier by beating Atalanta, but we got there in the end. The lineup, it's going to be a different Liverpool than what we're all maybe used to. And Peter, I'll come to you. What sort of Liverpool team do you think we're going to see tomorrow night, body-wise? How many senior players? Or can there be too many young players? What way do you see them lining up?
As few as possible, to be honest with you. I don't think Klopp is going to make himself look foolish. And tomorrow night you'll see that he means business. They'll be in the usual. It really doesn't matter that the tea lady plays tomorrow. It doesn't matter if a few lads come out of retirement and play tomorrow. The job is done. You've really got to think about, throwing a couple of, as many kids in as possible. I mean, I texted a team yesterday to Gav rather, saying I think maybe Jones or Jota or maybe Minamino will be the most experienced. Origi will probably be the most experienced in the team. Fellas like that. I really, to be honest with you, this is the chance to really, really, get those batteries recharged. And Klopp's been talking about it for a while. They would make a mockery of everything that he's been talking about. If he was to, play anything like a full strength team. Plus, it gives a lot of the young players that were curious about the opportunity, another opportunity in some cases, to perform at this level. Well, no matter what you think of Midtjylland, they're performing Champions League level. They nicked the point last week away to Atalanta. So, let's do what we do. Let's rest the lads and prepare for the Fulham game and go in there all guns blazing.
Sam, will come to you next. Peter touches on, not taking any risks with the lineup. Is that how you see it going as well?
Yeah.
Do you think, as Pete says, there's still a job to be done? There's still, Klopp isn't going to want to roll over for them either. So do you see some of the first teamers getting a run?
I think the word would be foolish if he did, and Klopp isn't a foolish guy. The job's done, but let's not forget, the job that we could be talking about this game is not a dead rubber if it wasn't for the previous performance against Ajax, which, to be fair, Kelleher put out, a great performance. So, credit to him firstly, because it could have been a whole lot different with a couple of great saves and just having an all-round good goalkeeping performance, a good goalkeeping debut as well. So the game could have been different, tomorrow, but thankfully it isn't. But I completely agree. I think there'll be a lot of youngsters, and probably the most experienced will probably be the likes of Jota, Tsimikas, Minamino. And I'm going to touch on Minamino just briefly, that I think it could be a big game for him, because I feel so sorry for this lad. So sorry for him. He's come to Liverpool at the worst possible time during a worldwide pandemic. The lad doesn't know the language. He's playing like he's got a heap of potatoes on his shoulders, and he doesn't seem to be enjoying his football. Now, I think tomorrow could be a free shot. It's a free shot. It's a free game, and it'd be nice to see him playing with a smile on his face, with freedom. So hopefully we get to see, Minamino playing freely, and the shackles are off of him. You know, like Tsimikas as well. There could be a surprise in there. Billy Kumitieri, you know, I would like to see him play, and possibly Leighton Clarkson as well, getting a run out. That would be, you know, he's been playing extremely well for the under-18s. So I think it's a chance now to see some of the more, you know, some of the emerging talent that's coming through, because so far, you know, thrown the kids in this season, you know, and it's, you know, it's paid dividends. So it'd be good to see a few more of them come through and get some game time tomorrow as well.
Indeed. And Gar, Sam touched on a few young lads there. Cometio, Clarkson. Do you see any other lads maybe figuring or getting into the team, or is Reece Williams now an experienced?
Yeah, I think Reece Williams is. I think we can count on him as one of the backup lads now, can't we? He's shown how astute he's been in the games he's played. In fairness to him, young Neko as well, lads. I have to say, I thought he was excellent the weekend after going into a yellow very early. He's come in, you know, we've often spoke about the criticism, but for a lad at that age and for who's ahead of him in the team, I think we all expect him to be the same player. They're not. End the story. People need to start, you know, having an eye on talent a bit different than players do play differently. I'd be very surprised if we don't see Trent for a good portion of games tomorrow's game for match fitness, just after missing a couple of weeks. Young Kane as well is a big one, Keith, who's been in the training pictures a hell of a lot lately, along with Leighton Clarkson. I wouldn't be surprised if he started, but he's gonna do. We all know it's gonna be a few of the experienced lads who are the backup, and then a couple of young lads thrown in, I'd imagine. I'd be a bit peed off if Kelleher didn't start, if I'm honest with you. Considering the 2 games he's done, I've seen a few teams thrown about today. Yeah. But obviously there is that thing if he gets injured, but I don't think Klopp's like that. And he's really, you know, in a roundabout way, he's talked Kelleher up a lot, and he seems to be the number 2 on the back of 2 extremely good performances. And we've all seen how good he was, lads, in everything in his game. But I think the one thing that stood out to me was his passing from the back, and how he picked players out from 30, 40 yards away.
Both footed. He was hitting him the same with his left, and he's meant to be weak on his right foot. He's doing the exact same left and right foot. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, Sam, I know there's a story that's gone around that he changed their forward name, but I've actually I did with a school and my job, and the girl, her son, played with him up to 17s, and I believe he didn't really go on net until nearly under 17s. I think he was doing a bit of coach playing out. It's ridiculous. And credit to the kid. I believe he was nearly going to Man United. But it's a credit to the lad. I know he's had to wait his time. He's 22 years of age, lads, but sometimes patience is a virtue, and if you listen to people like Kenny Cunningham, you'd sell Alisson right now.
The moral of that is don't listen to Kenny Cunningham.
Correct.
Gar, I'll stay with you, Gar, because I'm glad you brought up Kelleher. And it is a contentious one. I think he plays Adrian tomorrow. And I think he plays Adrian for the reason that it's a free hit. There's no consequence. I think it's Adrian's final by choice performance for Liverpool. I think it's a game that even if he makes a balls of it, it hasn't really got a consequence. And I genuinely think Adrian starts this game. How would you feel about that? Can you see the logic? Or do you think it's better to play Kelleher and give him that experience, give him them minutes in the team? Is that more important than a sympathetic?
Yeah, personally for me, right? I'm not Klopp, right? But personally for me, I play Kelleher all day long. It's nothing to do with Adrian's previous couple of games, lads. I would just continue for his own development, for his own mindset. I think if you drop him tomorrow night, I think it's a bit of a step back. Now, he probably knows he's number 2, lads. Let's be honest here at the moment, right? I think you're right. It could be a farewell performance for Adrian, and then Kelleher will go in for the cups, I'd imagine. Because I think news today is Alisson's back quite soon, isn't he?
Fulham game, isn't it? They're saying now. So.
Okay, well, there you go. So, for me personally, I'd love to see Kelleher just for the fact of what the last 2 games have done for his development. I suppose internationally as well. it's huge. Will it be a chance for his international to take a risk on him? Because they're already taking a risk on a second string keeper anyway at the moment. So, play him, because he is the future. If he's going to stay at Liverpool as a number 2, or he pushes on somewhere as a number 1. But I have to say, he's been a credit to himself in the last 2 games. In some of the saves he's pulled off, how experienced he's looked, Kate, to me, has been huge. And as you've seen with the keepers you're involved with, being able to play from the back like that and pick lads out in centre mid is a gift, is an absolute gift.
It's dead right, and I know we're talking at a lower level. Myself and Gar coach a team, and we have a goalkeeper that we're lucky to have a goalkeeper that actually plays that way, and the difference it makes even at that level, it's unreal. And I think Kelleher gives you what Adrian doesn't, and it seems to breed a bit more confidence into the back four. Yeah. But Pete, I'll come to you now. Kelleher and Adrian, forgetting about them for a second, right? Unless you want to talk about your opinion on the Kelleher-Adrian debate. But Nico Williams is someone that, as Gar touched on, has played well in the last couple of games. He's come in for a lot of stick, the young lad. He's played well. Can you see Nico Williams starting this game tomorrow again as a free hit? Or do you agree with Gar that Trent needs minutes coming back,
No, as it stands, Williams actually has the short, no matter what people think. I mean, he's played well against Wolves. Yeah, he's had a bit of a torrid time 5 minutes in, but who doesn't against pace like that, particularly when you're being targeted? No, he's got the short. There's no doubt that he plays tomorrow. I do agree with Gar, though. He may get 10, 15 minutes tomorrow, depending on what Klopp is thinking, because, I don't want to be disrespectful to Fulham, but I can't see him being all that stretched in that game. It'll be more looking at how effective he is going forward. So you might want to give him a stretch tomorrow night of 10, 15 minutes. But Williams has got the short. I mean, forget about all the bullshitters on Twitter going on about he's that. The same people who criticised that young lad, who criticised Henderson for not being Steven Gerrard. Yeah. They're now criticising Nico Williams for not being Trent Alexander-Arnold. Idiots.
Yeah, indeed. Sam, the Williams, Loringer puts in the chat there, I think Williams and Trent will get a half each. Do you think it'll be something along those lines that they'll both sort of figure? Or can you see someone in the chat put earlier, Trent in midfield? I can't see Klopp doing that. I think Trent is a fullback, and that's all.
Yeah, in midfield, especially after that kind of injury, I think it could be risky. I think he'll go with Nico, and just depending on the tempo of the game. I mean, if Midtjylland are going out all guns blazing and throwing bodies, left, right, and centre, which they might do, because it's not every day you get to play the Liverpool, the world champions. So they might be really up for this game, and it could be a bit of a nasty game. Who knows? But if it isn't, and the game's playing out, nicely, and maybe we're a couple of goals up, fingers crossed, it would be a good opportunity for not just Trent to come back in, but for maybe Naby to get minutes as well. And just to get the boys, as it's a really good point actually about the Fulham game. It's not going to get stretched too much, so it would be a good opportunity maybe tomorrow to stretch the legs and get the boys playing. So I wouldn't be averse to it at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd say we'd all imagine Tsimikas is going to play at left full. I can't see a case where Robbo plays in that. But the centre of the fence, the elite, for want of a better word, lineup has who does it have? It has Reece Williams and it has Billy Comedio at centre back. Can you see that happening? Gar, I'll come back to you on this one. Can you see Comedio getting a start here? Or I know he's travelled with the squad and he did only play 45 minutes for, I think it was the 18th the other day, and came off, but it was a pre-planned substitution, which does indicate that he will get minutes. Can you see him starting, or do you think he'll come into the team?
Well,
He'll be a youngest ever player if he does.
Yeah, the leaked, I suppose I can't mention any names, but a certain keeper that went to Leicester, the leaked ex-Liverpool that went to Leicester 11, he's in it. But listen, I'd love to see the young lad giving a go. It's Midtjylland. They're gonna be up for it, lads. Let's be honest about it. They've got a decent result in their last game. I'd love to see him start. Keith was really impressed in pre-season. I know pre-season doesn't give you an awful lot, But it's great to see these kids. I think the big thing for me, lads, with the kids who've, if you go with the weekend, you've 3 kids in there. Williams, Curtis Jones, to me, is still a kid, even though he plays like a 45-year-old in centre mid. And then obviously Kelleher playing in there. The biggest thing for me has been the psychology behind how they've settled in so easy, lads. It's been amazing to see. And another thing that was huge for me with the weekend, I know there's a few fans there, but the 3 of them and how they're still barking orders around. The communication thing must be well driven in the training ground, but you can hear the 3 of them all the time in communication. It's huge, you know, and to be, you know, they're stepping up into a side that's just won a league, for God's sake, and nothing seems to daunt any of these kids coming in, which is huge, and which is credit to the academy coaching staff, and obviously they're training together now, and they're going to be blended together in the right format. But the psychology behind the whole lot of it, the transition in them coming into the side has been absolutely amazing. Now, yes, it's easy to come into a side that's obviously on a high, some might say, but we've seen in previous teams, in previous times gone by, that many, if you look at the United great teams, there was many young kids that were thought to be amazing kids coming through and went off to Division 3 and even further beyond. So it's not easy to settle into a side that's flying, lads, but to have that psychology is absolutely a credit to everyone who's involved.
It gives us like a psychological advantage in the league as well, in my opinion, because the likes of Tottenham and Chelsea will be looking at us now. We've lost, you know, arguably the best keeper in the world, the best centre-back in the world, one of the best full-backs in the world. And you know, that's just 3 players, but then you're missing like Milner, Chamberlain, and all these big players. And you've thrown a load of kids in there, right? Our title rivals must be thinking, these guys are still, you know, they're still winning games. That psychologically gives us a massive advantage. And that must get into Mourinho's head, Lampard's head, knowing that we've still got the best players, not just good players, but the best players to come back in as well. That gives us a massive advantage, in my opinion.
Well, Sam, if you look at Chelsea last year, lads, look, you've got obviously James is doing very well, but a centre half as well. They did a huge centre half coming through, and he hit a dip of form. I think he went into the England squad at one stage as well. He hit a dip of form. He's nowhere near the squad now, which is a shame because it just showed that they didn't trust him. Yeah. Because they went out and bought your man from the over 35s at PSG. They went out and bought Thiago Silva. So it just shows they don't trust him. That to me, and all this screaming about Lampard, great with kids, great with development. Yeah, well, why hasn't he developed that kid at centre half?
Yeah, Billy Gilmore's another one. I know he played tonight, but it's these players that come in when they're stuck, and then, as you say, as soon as they have the opportunity to buy, they make about 13 signings and cover every position, and it just nails.
He's still reverting to Jorginho in that position as a second go-to. So therefore, this big development thing is not true, because if you have trust in someone like Klopp has done, you'll throw them in straight away.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's all smoke and mirrors, really, at some of our rivals. I mean, somebody made the comment a few weeks ago that no one single player or group of players within the squad is bigger than the system. I mean, it's funny. I watched Liverpool last year against Aston Villa get beaten. You know, I think there was the average age in the side was 18, 17. And still, if you look at the possession stats, it was, I think Liverpool overall had about 65% of the possession. Okay, it doesn't reflect itself on the scoreboard, but it tells you that Gar was talking about earlier about players coming and being comfortable. That's because they're being taught. They're playing this way from when they're 6 and 7 years of age. Of course they're going to be comfortable. The fact that it keeps them at the club is just raw competition. You know, do they have the mentality? Do they have the physicality? For example, you look at the fullbacks. Can the fullbacks play a 70, 80, 90-yard game, which is what is required of our fullbacks and indeed modern fullbacks? Can midfielders cover the ground? Are you looking at guys that can, you know, give you that 9 out of 10 passing performances and 90 passes over 100 attempted, you know, from a central midfield player? That's what keeps you at the club. It's never a case of fitting in at Liverpool. In fact, I think Liverpool's hierarchy are more concerned about some of the players that they bring in that are over 27 than bringing 19 and 20-year-olds in. I'm very comfortable with any young player that's named in that squad. And I've named what I guessed was my 11 as Kelleher, Nico, Tsimikas, Reece Williams, Billy, Keita, Jones, Kane, Jota, Origi, Minamino, any young player that gets into that side, I hate all these moaners and groans. What's he doing in the team? I tell you what he's doing in the team. He's there maybe 13, 14, 15 years from when he's 6, and he's earned his place in that team, and he'll do a job. Trust the manager.
Very true. And Sam, I'll come to you. Like the lads have touched on it there, the synergy at the whole club. So, and I think, you know, Klopp, obviously the first thing he does, he comes into Liverpool and he's at the academy looking at games. He's, you know, meeting with Alex Inglethorpe. They've got this system now where every team plays the same way and players are developed that they can fit into the system. So, you know, if you're playing in a 4-3-3, the right side of the tree in the middle knows what he has to do with fullbacks and knows when to attack. You know, it's not just players getting thrown in willy-nilly. It's a thought-out plan. They've got Vidar Matos now as the youth. Although he has a special title, but it's development.
Standing at the season, I think Klopp referred him to when he came in.
But they've got Matos and Linders are high on bringing the youth players in to the first team and bridging that gap. Now, as I said, Inglethorpe deserves a lot of credit for that as well. But it's just other clubs don't seem to have that. They throw in players and they're out as quick. You know, it's just literally throwing a plaster on and then they're gone again. But if we look at this expected midfield, now I have a team on the screen there that Emmett has after thrown in, right? Rumoured lineup: Adrian, Trent, Reece Williams, Billy, Tsimikas. That's the proposed back 5, right? Keita, Kane and Clarkson in midfield. How do you feel that? You know, do you know much of Leighton Clarkson or Jay Kane? Do you know what type of players they are? Are you worried about that with Naby Keita, let's say, being the senior player in that? Or do you just think, let them go, let them play?
They're all very versatile. They're all very versatile. I mean, I think that if you went with that, it would mean Keita. It'd mean Keita would be more advanced if you were playing that way. Probably Clarkson would drop in. But Clarkson's versatile as well. I mean, I've seen him play in different positions. I've seen him play box to box. I've seen him hold, you know, and he looks a very competent player. So, but if Keita's playing in that team, it would mean that Keita would be going forward, because I think one thing's for sure, he's not a deep midfielder.
Yeah, very true.
Clarkson Keita is the if you want to call it, the positionally more intelligent one to me out of those three.
Yeah.
Who will go into a 6 and who will cover right and left. Can probably fill into Genie's position to go left side if we are playing attacking right full, and Keita will, I wouldn't say free role, but whatever role you want to give him in there.
Break the lines.
Just to go and enjoy himself a bit and not be stuck, not be given. For me, I don't like having to go, but Keita seems to struggle in a side where he's given tactical intelligence. And we saw at Leipzig when he was flying, he was in a side in a free role and he could go and do what he wanted. And obviously he did get a few cards and stuff, but he seems to play a lot better when he's got a bit of freedom to play, Keith. And I think tomorrow could be that night for him.
Yeah, it's something that I think Keita, the strong point that I think we can all agree. And I think you'd have to be frustrated at his career so far at Liverpool. It hasn't quite kicked off yet, and we're 3 years into it. But one thing that he's good at is pressing in that advanced role and winning the ball back in the opposition's defensive third, and it causes all sorts of problems. We've seen a lot of goals coming from that. That's probably, you're right, Gar, that's probably what you're going to be seeing tomorrow, is Keita just being told to, you just win that ball up there and we'll go from there, see what we can get, and have these two lads in behind. So it'll be interesting to see the dynamic of that. But Pete, I'll come to you. The front three in this rumoured lineup is Jota, Origi and Minamino. How does that, do you think that will be the case? Do you think they will be the three that start this one?
It's the front three. Funny enough, it's the front three that I sent to Gav yesterday, and what I thought it would be. Listen, we all know that Origi is not giving us any kind of mobility, certainly, but I would expect a lot of that from Minamino and certainly from Jota, who's on fire. And the only reason I went for Jota in it is because simply he didn't play, he didn't start the other day. So I would expect him maybe to start today. Klopp throws in surprises all day long. And it makes us, the two boys have the ability to drop in when we don't have the ball as well and make it very, very busy, shall we say, for Midtjylland in front of their own, I wouldn't even say at home. It makes it that little more difficult, and it should make us a lot more compact. I would expect Minamino to be busy, get through a lot of work, and Jota impresses me off the ball as well. So Origi, listen, I'm not going to defend him anymore. The only thing I'll say is when you're not playing football, and when you're not playing ball, he's as static as they come. But
he was disgusting in the last game, wasn't he? I mean, that was one of the most disgusting performances I've seen in a while. It was that bad. I mean, I'm surprised he's been given another shot by Klopp if he plays tomorrow.
He's done, mate, to be fair. He's done. Let's be honest. He's done. And he's probably thought to himself, why have I stayed? I could have went anywhere else. I've got my medals around my neck, and I could have been a starter. That's probably what's driving him crazy. And you'd have to sympathise. The fella scored legendary goals at the biggest club in the world. He could have walked out and with his head held high. Now all of a sudden people are talking about him being a bad player. I don't think he deserves that. His head his morale is as low as it can possibly get, to be honest. Who can blame him?
Gar, I'll come to you, right? On Origi, we're talking about him now. We might as well stay with him. Do you agree with, or do you echo what Pete is saying, that he's probably a bit harshly treated, or do you have a different view on him? What's your take on the Origi situation at the moment?
Here's my thing. He looks like a player, lads, right, to me. Just looking in the games he's played, he looks like a player who's been priced out of a move in the summer. And the games he's played in, he looks like he's going out. And I'm not saying he's not trying, right, because that's it's quite a disgrunting thing to say. I wouldn't say that. He looks like a player who's going, right, I'm either going out here to either his agents in his ear, as we all know, they're very powerful people. His agents in his ear and saying, right, if you want to get a move out there, you need to devalue yourself. And to me, he's devaluing himself in the end performances, right? Because if a side comes in to Liverpool, let's just say when the next window opens, and Liverpool say 30 million, no one's going to pay that, lads. Right? Now, I know Edwards is a bloody genius, lads, right? Okay. Let's be honest here. But at the moment, his value is not of major value that to me that you can recoup, right? To me, he looks like a player who's been ill-advised to go out and devalue yourself. And we've seen it, lads. We see it in Europe all the time. We see it in players all the time. He looks to me like he's been ill-advised. To me, he should be going out, Keith. He should be going out if he wants to make his move or wants to try and get a move wherever he wants. Go out, show what you're made of, and get yourself a move. And as Pete said, become a starter.
Yeah, is he? He's a young lad still. He's not 100%. These are his best years ahead. And he should be playing regular football week in, week out somewhere. Do you think we denied him at the opportunity? Do you reckon that's like?
Well, the thing I'd say with Origi is, I think we should have sold him after we won the Champions League. I think his value was at its highest there. I think, I'm going to be honest, I don't think he took his chance last season when he was kept in the squad as the fourth option and he played games and he really didn't take his opportunities when he came. And he got a fair few opportunities. He didn't take them. He's playing now. Or you know what Gar is saying? He looks like someone who's not trying. And whether he is or not, is he trying to get his value down to get a move? Like Liverpool were, if you're talking about 30 million, let's say, for Divock Origi, who's going to pay that? Unless Bournemouth come back up and we might get something out of them. But in all seriousness, like, who's going to pay the money that we probably want and value him at? So it's a tough one. But the frustration with him is...
Keith.
Go. Yeah.
Chris Wilder's phone.
Chris Wilder's on, is he?
Centre forward.
Tell him we have him for him if you want. He's the new.
Use him as a substitute.
But no, lads, I think Origi is. I think he's probably the thing that gets me is, and it's probably harsh with Origi because it could be just his personality. And when we were getting him coming on and scoring and impacting games, his sort of laid back attitude was all well and good. Now it's like he's doing nothing in games and his laid back attitude is like, this fella doesn't care, this fella. And it's a harsh thing to say about any footballer because I'm sure they all do care. I'm sure Divock Origi doesn't go out there to not put the effort in.
Do you think he gets a buzz out of the fans and the atmosphere in the big occasion? Because he seems to come up like Dortmund, Barcelona, the Champions League final. When the atmosphere and it matters the most, and it's hot, and the atmosphere is crazy. He just comes up with the goods, doesn't he? Is he missing the fans? Does he have fans behind him?
He's certainly shown he's a man for a big game, but there was a couple of times last year where there was big enough games or results to be gone and gotten, and I just feel Sammy's let himself down. If he's a very young kid, he's a very young lad. Like, you've got Lukaku, who's gone off and done it for himself. Batshuayi, every time he plays for Belgium, seems to bang in goals. So he's fallen down that pecking order as well internationally. So if he wants to go on and do anything for himself or show anything of his ability that's there, he needs to really go and show it, because he's not doing it anytime he's given the chance to me.
Yeah, and I know it can sound like we're bashing him, and I don't want to be bashing any Liverpool player. And I don't want to be bashing a Liverpool player who scored a goal in a Champions League final for us, or who scored 2 in probably the greatest match we've ever had against Barcelona. But Pete, you just think it's run its course now? Do you think the Origi thing has maybe come, and the best for all parties is a move now? I don't think it'll be January, maybe in the summer. Do you think it's getting to that juncture?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, sometimes certain teams just play a certain way that absolutely doesn't suit that player. Now, you can play 6 or 7 games against certain opposition in a season, and I don't think it's any coincidence that certainly the way Everton used to set up against us, that when we spring load Origi with those 30-40 yard diagonals, he gets on the end and he scores. It was no coincidence, but we just don't play like that every week. Bringing in a player like Jota tells you everything you need to know. Klopp is sticking to what he knows, from his time at Dortmund. Busy lads, in your face, interchanging positions, absolutely murdering you. That just doesn't, I think Origi knows that he's a giant square peg in a round hole. It isn't fair. Sometimes your face just doesn't fit. It's not personal. You'll always have your day in the sun once every 6 or 7 games where you look a player, but unfortunately, you need to be like Salah, Mane, Jota. You need to be looking like every week is your week. And somebody made the point earlier on that, do I need a crowd? Do I need this? Does he need that? When you're playing at the highest level of competitive football, you should be brokenhearted over losing a bet over 2 flies crawling up a wall. You need to want to win at everything. That's the minimum standard expected at the highest level. And Origi,
it's no shame to not fit at Liverpool. At the end of the day, we are one of the best teams in the world, best clubs in the world, best squads in the world. So it's no I don't know what the word would be, but he shouldn't be disappointed with himself. He's done what he's needed to do.
No, but the club has to be ruthless. At the end of the day, it's about saying a nice goodbye, a little bit like Adam Lallana, a little bit like the lads Dejan Lovren, who just aren't up to the mark, or we can't keep fit, whatever. You say goodbye, you move forward, and you maintain your strength. Anything less, and you disapprove the squad, because what happens within the dynamic of a squad, other lads begin to see, well, the gaffer seems to be tolerant of this kind of standard, that kind of standard. Maybe Oiley's off here. Everybody has to feel day in, day out that they have to fight for their locker, and if they're not at it, you're finished.
Pete, I'll turn this on its head here, right? You take someone like Curtis Jones, who was probably 7th place pecking order in that midfield with everyone we signed, right? And now, listen, not by design, he's played more regularly, obviously with the injuries and stuff like that. But you look at the effort, the ability he shows every game he comes in. That's what you want at your club. It's been able to turn to someone and go, you're in here because I trust you, and that's what you want. That's as we as fans want. And listen, I'm not here to knock Origi. He's a professional football player, by the way. He was earning a lot more money than I'll ever earn in a lifetime, right? But us as fans, we'd love to see him give a bit more, and that's fair enough. I don't think that's a hard thing to ask as fans to a footballer, right? But if you look, as I say, if you look at someone like Curtis Jones, who at the start of the season, when we signed THIAGO, was probably going, oh, Jesus, lads, I'm not going to see much game time this year. Yeah. Now, yes, he's played through injury, but every time he's come into that side, he has looked a talent. And Origi is not that far off him age-wise. you think he'd want to do the same for himself for his future at Liverpool or wherever that may be. It's just he it's that belief in himself is gone or whatever it is. You just want that little bit more.
Yeah, I think you hit the
big game, a big game and goal against Everton, and that could have been his moment in the sun, couldn't it? And he could have laid off. But every game I've seen Curtis Jones play since that, when we played the kids against Everton, and since that goal, every game he's just got better and better and better. He's getting better with the press. He's now he's so much more malleable position-wise. He can drop deep if he wants to. He can pop into the 10. He can go out wide if you need to. He could even probably play, in that false 9 role if you wanted him to. He is just improving by the day, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he'll be like in the next week. It's just
Gar hits the nail on the head there. He backs himself. And sometimes you don't realise how important that is. I always think that the difference between lads that make it the highest level and lads that we talk about, geez, he should have made it, don't know how he didn't make it, is simple. We've all played. You go home, you think to yourself, geez, that touch I had or the goal I scored today, that was great. I'm delighted with that. Lads that make it don't think like that. They think, all right, it's okay, I scored that 1 or 2, but what about the 3 I missed? I'm absolutely fucking disgusted with myself. Yeah. And I think Origi looks to me like someone that's a little bit, and it's terrible, I don't know the guy, but maybe he's a little bit satisfied with the contribution he makes, whereas he should be, you want to see someone bursting their bollocks to get to that next level, especially at that age. I don't see that in him.
Yeah, Curtis Jones does have that sort of that hunger that we want to see. Divock maybe doesn't have that hunger, but as Avo throws in, Wolves need a striker to replace Jimenez, and that could be a move from where he's playing as a central figure. He's big. They bought Fabio Silva there for about 40 million, but he's only 18. Like, he needs to develop. Divock could get a move there. Another player
linked with them during the summer,
he's linked with them a few times, which always did surprise me. You know what I mean? But he constantly does get linked there. But he's linked with moves away. The thing with Divock is Divock has the physicality and the pace and the size. Like, for his his attributes, he should be doing a lot more. Another player that tries to be busy but doesn't have the attributes is Takumi Minamino. Now, Gar, I'll come to you. If Minamino's playing tonight, do we see this as a big game for Minamino? And is it, does he need to get on the protein shakes? Is that what he's missing? Is just the physical side of his game? And do games like this in the Champions League suit him more than rough and tumble in the Premier League?
I haven't wondered, Keith, is he going through that sort of Robbo transition? I know he came in late last year, right? It was a tough time to come in, lads, with as Pete touched on with everything that's gone on, and sorry, Sam touched on it as well. We often wonder, we saw during the summer in the preseason games, he was put in Bobby's position plenty of times, linked up really, really well with Keita in some of them games. And I often wonder, is it a transition in the training ground? And that's why we're not seeing him. Are they trying to make him into that number 9, put him into that role in case Bobby's form drops again? In fairness to him, he's played well the weekend. As you say, it could be a strength thing, but I've noticed Curtis Jones, a huge difference in him in the last 6 months. Bulking was, I'd say Tsimikas could be the same. And I've noticed within a couple of months, I think on his Instagram, you can see him straight away that he's already working out in the gym probably every day. So I think you're right. I think there is a bulking thing, but I also think it's a transition thing, Keith, into that role, because he's not coming into them 3 centre midfield roles, and that's a fact. And obviously we've bought Jota, who's been absolutely incredible. And has shown he can play in them 3 positions when the 3 guys up there interchange between them. That's probably been another thing that's hampered Minamino a bit as well, as has been his form, because he's the go-to or the number 4, if you want to call it that. And Sadio or Salah seem to get pushed into the middle then, don't they? Yeah. So listen, I would say it's not by design. His circumstance has probably slowed what's eventually we're going to see him. But I do think he's been moulded into that number 9, Keith.
Yeah, Chris Brack says there, Minamino's best game coming from the left or deep, or false 9 doesn't suit him. it doesn't suit him. If Bobby's form drops, Salah or Jota are better at number 9 options. And, maybe so, but I do agree with Gar that he is sort of being talked about as being the number 9 option. And look, it's a hard position to play. And if you're trying to mold him into Bobby, it's not the easiest thing in the world. But Sam, do you see Minamino being someone that will grow into the team? Or a lot of fans and a lot of people in our chat that follow us in this chat will say, no, he's done, he's a busted flush, get rid of him, he's never going to make it. How do you think Minamino can progress or can improve?
I think you just got to give him a bit longer. I think it'll be too harsh to say, oh, he's done at Liverpool. He hasn't really had the run that he wants. I think, Jota's lucky. He came into the side and he fired straight away, didn't he? He got going straight away. Whereas for Minamino, there's a lot of talk about Minamino, his personality as well. Apparently, he's quite a shy guy. He's very introvert. He hangs out on his own. He's a bit of a loner. He's, a bit of this, that, and the other. It's probably not ideal for, as we've all touched on, the circumstances that the world's in at the minute. So I would be happier to see once, the world's in a better place, how Minamino will perform on the pitch, because his life off the pitch will get better with that. So, yeah, I'm happy to see him have another chance. I do think, however, though, he's probably not cut out for the Bobby role. I would say he's probably left to right, but narrow left to right. But that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. I think the whole physical issue, physical side of it is an issue for him as well, and he does need maybe a couple of weeks in the Munich camp, and that just get him up to speed. But well, I just think time will tell with him. Time will tell. But he was a no-risk signing, wasn't he, lads? He was an absolute no-risk signing. Yeah. And whatever happens, just like Shaqiri, he was a no-risk signing as well. We'll probably end up making money on him. So
exactly. Sam, you're getting a lot of love in the comments. A few people have said you look like THIAGO Jota, so take that as a compliment.
I'm getting it all the time. Seriously, it's ridiculous. I'm getting it all the time now. It's just
you'll be handing out autographs before you know. The best comparison I've ever heard on this, and he's on the show tonight, was when someone said Garbrain looks like Sergio Ramos. No, blew my mind that one. But no offense, Gar, but Sergio Ramos.
Oh, it's all the tats. It's all the tats.
That's what it is. Yeah. That's what it must be. But Pete, I'm going to come to you, right? Something Sam's touched on there. No risk, Minamino. Jota hits the ground running. Liverpool were always sort of not criticised, but were always questioned about, why do you spend 40 million on the player from a Premiership team when you can get him in a move before that for a snip of that price? Is Minamino the example of why you don't do that? That you buy a player that's maybe more Premier League ready, pay the premium for the Premier League ready player rather than the cheaper option from, let's say, the Austrian league that takes time to develop?
I think it's harsh, but I see your point. I mean, at the end of the day, if Minamino goes from Salzburg to Red Bull Leipzig, sets the world on fire, you're not hesitating at throwing 45 million at it, and that's fine. But you have to. That's a harsh call, Grecky. But you have to. Yeah, you have to take into account as well. We have some pretty decent coaches at this club as well, and some pretty big players have been written off as flops. I mean, I remember one shout about Fabinho being second-rate right back, another one about a relegated left back that we signed from Hull City. Several calls like that. The thing is, we live in an instant gratification world, and football is not immune to that. And Liverpool fans are a little bit spoiled at the moment, so they want everybody to come in and be a Virgil van Dijk, to be a Mohamed Salah, to be an Alisson, to be a Sadio Mane. It doesn't work that way, especially the way we play with and without the ball. Give these lads a little bit of time, and then once they've had the time for the coaching staff to decide what they are, what the plan A for them is, what the plan B for them is, then they need a good solid run of 10-15 games before you know anything about them. So anything before that, you're just speculating, and it's just moodish. The key is to strike the balance with most of the players, to know that you've got 24, 25 players who all accept their roles. That's the real fight. If you compare us to Manchester United, for example, the reason Manchester United are struggling is not so much they've got bad players, because they don't. They've got a manager who doesn't know his plan A, doesn't know his plan B, and they've got a lot of players. Most of them, maybe 18 of the 24 serious players there, don't accept the roles that they have under the manager, whether it be positionally, whether it be the pecking order of the squad, or whether it be what they're supposed to do with and without the ball. It's an absolute shambles. So you trust it, and be happy that there doesn't seem to be anybody groaning. Even Wijnaldum, who hasn't, for some reason hasn't signed a contract yet, and nobody has played more minutes than him. And I think really with him, it's a case of, listen, I'm 29, 30. I need to play. I need to play every week. I need to know that I'm the go-to. That's the only grey area we have. You got to trust it and be patient.
Okay, I think there was a big thing, Peter, that's come out after the last few games, is you've got a lot of ex-pros coming out and saying, and it's been huge, and it's great actually. They've all turned down to, why would he go to Barca or Real now? The Holy Grail is Liverpool now for, at this current time. Why would he go to Barca or Real? And it's a fact. It's true.
Well, Barcelona's a shambles. Bayern Munich would be a shame.
Peter, Bayern would be great, or for him to go to AC Milan, obviously on the rise again. For me, in midfield in Italy, you look like. Yeah, you'll be smoking cigars in midfield in Italy if you're anyway mobile. Would be another good move for him to go to Italy. And in fairness, Aaron Ramsey's took the plunge and is doing quite well over there at Juve, in fairness. But I wouldn't be going near the Spanish league at the moment. It's an absolute shambles.
Maybe Atletico Madrid,
not bad.
He only loves players that'll run, certainly in that midfield. He'd have him playing on the left side of the strikers. Simeone, he plays 4 centre backs, plays full backs in midfield, plays midfielders up front. He loves all that. I'm a big fan of that sort of nonsense. I open the can of worms with all these player lookalikes because I'm getting the worst shouts of the lot. Sean Dyche, Jay Spearing. It's just like insult after insult. But how and ever, with thick skin, I can take it. We'll sort of move away. I want to quickly talk. There is 2 teams involved in this game, lads. And Midtjylland, in the first game, they had some players that posed us threats. And Sam, will come to you. Who do you see? Do you see any of the players of Midtjylland being a threat in particular to us tomorrow?
The 2 stand out are Dreyer and Sisto. Sisto more so. Didn't really see much of him in the first game.
Yeah.
He was one of the lads who's, I remember him in Celta Vigo, and he was
very highly rated when he went there. Big money move.
Was he Monaco, I think, before? Somewhere like that.
Yeah.
I don't know where it was, but I remember, I think it was around the World Cup or something, and he got his big move, and a lot was expected from him, and it just never happened.
He played in, I think it was Nordjylland or something like that. And,
one of them.
he came to Celta Vigo. He looked really bright. There was a time where Arsenal were close to signing him. He's a quick little player. He's tricky. Has moments, but I don't think we saw enough of him in the first game to really gauge a proper opinion on how he'll get on tomorrow. But it's going to be a younger team, isn't it? So it's could have more of a free roll tomorrow. But I'd say him and Dreyer. Dreyer can, he's capable of a goal. They've got a couple of decent players in there that I know of.
Yeah. What about you, Gar? Who do you see as being a threat?
I suppose guys have touched on Sisto there, and you've got Anene, who's is touched on 27 now, isn't he? He's a centre forward for them. But interesting, and I know we spoke about this, Keith, when the draw was originally done. These guys follow the Edwards approach, if you want to call it, the Moneyball approach to how they buy a lot of young players in. They've got a Brazilian in there as well at the moment, playing centre mid. And they've the highest rate of European, so 48% of European foreigners based in the side, which is huge for anywhere in Scandinavia, because in fairness to all Scandinavian sides, you'll generally have 3 or 4 foreign players in the side, but 48% is huge. And if I was, as a coach, if I was involved in the ref, I would be happy about it, because it's not giving a lot of development to homegrown players, really, is it? If they're going out and flooding loads of it, so it's a Premiership all over again.
Yeah, but that is true. you know, it'll work for them, and other clubs will take that model. But it's very interesting, yeah, that you mentioned it. They do pick up a lot of gems. It's the sort of the Red Bull model as well, isn't it? It's just get them in, get the youths in. There was an excellent article about how Midtjylland do their business, but look, it's just probably different, you know, than what
they're quite new to it as well, Keith. I think it's only 2 or 3 years into it, so in fairness,
they'll see the results of that as it goes
100%, yeah.
It's the same ownership as
they're quite a new club. They were formed by two people. They're two teams formed together, so they're a relatively modern day club, aren't they? So.
Yeah, it's the same ownership as Brentford. An English guy who made his money playing the odds. You know, kind of a different type of gambling on numbers and all this evens, odds. I don't know how he did it, but he made a lot of money doing it. Yeah. But you were talking about players. I think if Dreyer was a better finisher, we could have lost the first game. To be honest with you, for me, he picked out a weakness, and I haven't seen many do it. Sitting between Williams and Robertson, I think it was, and he kept drifting into that strange position, where no one was quite picking him up. And I just thought he got 1-on-1 after about 5 minutes. I thought, oh, this is a player. This fella knows where he's going. He looks like a Teddy Sheringham type player, you know, ghosting here, ghosting there. If he was a better finisher, we would have dropped points that night, but thankfully he isn't. Tomorrow night he'll be a threat. Definitely.
Yeah. I agree. I think their front, the players they'll have Dreyer will be on a wing, they'll have Sisto on a wing, they'll have they'll have a Cabe will be up front. He's a big lad up front. They'll have a fella who I like in midfield. He's just a bit of a destroyer, Frank Onyeka, a Nigerian lad in midfield. I think he's a bit of a kicker. I love a big dirty blade kicker like that. Big fan of their sort of work
against us. Yeah,
he did. Yeah, so that's the type of player I like. Forget about these footballers, the big blade and the big rocky ones that just kick lumps out of you. I'm a big fan of their work. But they also have their captain coming back, Eric Shevchenko, who played for Celtic. Anyone's familiar with
he's excellent.
He's been out as well. So the fact they'll get him back in, you know, will be a big boost to them. They're at home. You know, they'll fancy their chances against a weak Liverpool team as well. So in that sense, it should be a good game. Before we go on to our predictions, lads, I'm just going to shout out, I don't think we have a particular sponsor for this show, but just to give a shout out to the sponsors who've been coming on board with us. We've got Manscaped. Everyone's heard about our ball grooming escapades with Manscaped. It's been a pleasure. It's been great. Get onto it if you can. Use the code LFCDT. Get 20% off. Treat your balls to the treat they never knew they needed. We also have Colossus Bets is a new betting company. If you're not into gambling, don't gamble, you know, and if you are, do it responsibly. I'll always say that when it comes to betting websites. But this is something different. It's like a syndicate. There's a few bets have gone in for the midweek games. You get involved, throw in your selections, and it grows from there. Again, sign up there. Use LFCDT as the sign-in code. And there's also the Sporting Prizes as another one where you can bid, or you buy a ticket for, I think it's £5, and you get a signed jersey. I think it's Steven Gerrard's signed jersey is on at the moment. 90 tickets or something in the draw. You can buy a few, and they do a live draw to get that, which is excellent. So look up the various sponsors we have. Again, you know, helping us. Maybe we help the sponsors, helps us in. If you're thinking of getting a present, ball trimmers could be the way forward. Who knows? But that helps us in the long run, you know. So if you're in that game, do it a bit of time before Crimbo. So lads, I'll come back now. Before we do go on as well, we've got 250 odd watching, which is great, brilliant, happy days. We've only got 95 likes. If you're watching the show and you like what we do, just hit the little thumbs up. It helps us a lot. Puts our show into other people's feeds and helps us grow, gets us out there. We hate saying it, we hate begging for likes, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it does help us get out there and grow the show. And in fairness, it's flying. You know, we got over our 7,000 subscriber last week, which was excellent. And you don't know how much it means to a show like ourselves to grow it at that rate. Mightn't seem big, but it really is to us. So if you can help in any way, hit that like button. That's all we're asking. Subscribe and hit the like. Right, lads, enough of that nonsense. Put me cap back on instead of having it out begging for likes. But predictions for the game tomorrow. Gar, I'm going to start with you. How do you see this one going? Do you see us winning? Give us a score prediction, man, a player to watch, all that sort of carry on.
I'm gonna go with 2-2, Keith. You know that? I'm gonna sit in the fence a bit. If it is the team that's rumoured around, I'm gonna go 2-2. I think the one I want to see myself is Kane, to be honest with you. And Clarkson, a young lad from Blackburn. I'm gonna pick two players if you don't mind. I'm gonna be greedy because I love seeing young lads getting the chance. So I'm gonna go with Kane and Clarkson as the ones to watch.
Excellent stuff. Sam, will come to you now. How do you see it going? What's your prediction, and who are the players that you're looking forward to seeing?
I'd have to echo really what Gar just said. I was going to say 2 more. Yeah. And yeah, Kane and Clarkson. If that's a team that we're going to look at, that the predicted lineup per se that you said, then yeah, of course, them two. Probably Simicast as well. Be looking forward to seeing him for a while. He hasn't had a good run yet, so looking forward to seeing him. I'm gonna be more optimistic. Gar and go 3-2 to Liverpool. And yeah, I think Minamino might get 1 or 2 as well. So, but yeah, if the two young lads are playing, I think they're the ones to watch, Kane and Clarkson.
Excellent. Peter, what about yourself?
I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool. I'm going to unusually say that we're going to be under pressure because their movement is going to be good. But Kelleher will probably have a great game. He'll be one of the ones to watch. I can see him, not just pulling off great saves, but his movement, positioning, distribution will be very important tomorrow night. I think Keita is due a bit of a performance, certainly in the Champions League, and I'd be in the Minamino camp maybe for a bit of firepower, maybe get us a goal or 2.
Excellent. And look, it's a good point. I mean, we've all seen games in League Cups and that when Keita and Origi have come in and they've sort of treated it nearly as a punishment rather than being senior players and taking the game by the scruff. So they're two players that I'd like to see if the rumour teams are right and it's Keita is in there and Origi. Like I said, we've given Origi a bit of stick, but that wasn't the aim, you know what I mean, to do that. I think there's a player in there if he just applies it a bit more. So I wouldn't mind seeing Divock scoring if he's going to play tomorrow, because the flip side of that is if he doesn't score, he's not doing anything, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's another frustrating selection. So, I'd like to see him score just to justify his selection if he does get in. I think Liverpool are going to win, but I think it will be a tight game. I think it could be a 3-2, like Sam says. I think we could ship goals. If Adrian's in goal, you'd worry, and especially with the two centre-backs, if it is going to be Cometio and it's going to be Reece Williams, you might think, right, Jesus, that might be something to keep an eye on. Kelleher, if he does play, I'd be excited to see him. But I agree as well with what the lads have said. Kane and Clarkson, if they do play, you love to see young players getting a chance and breaking into the team. So, Billy the Kid as well, look, he's only 18. If he plays, he become our youngest player. It'll be a big moment for him as well. So the more of these young guys that get a game, as we've said, lads, it's a dead rubber game. It doesn't, the pressure is off. You don't want to go and get hopped off, you know what I mean, for these lads' developments. But it's a dead rubber. Let's go out and give these lads a chance. It's Champions League. You saw, actually, before we finish up, we saw Reece Williams when he came on against Ajax, and it was something like the 94th minute or something he got put on. And he was so proud and he was so happy that he got on in the Champions League. It's a big deal for these players. We can brush it over and say, it doesn't mean that, the game is this. But for these lads, it's a huge step. So I'm looking forward to seeing any of the young guys playing again. I don't think Curtis will play. I know Pete, you said you'd love to see Curtis in there. I think he got injured. He wasn't in training. Didn't he pick up a little knock at the weekend and he had to get a bit of treatment in the first half? So they're probably holding him back as a precaution. But I would have looking forward to seeing him, but maybe it's not going to happen. But look, we'll wait and see. And before we leave, Emmett puts a good point in there. At Manscaped have a default 20% discount. Don't use that. If you go on to Manscaped, it's important that you use LFC DT, because that's, air code that the more we get that use that code, the more chance it is to build something there with ourselves and Manscaped going forward. So look, I want to thank the boys for coming on with me tonight. Sam, it was great to have you back after a long layoff.
Yeah, it feels like a while as well. Thanks for having us back on. It's always good to be talk shit with the lads. So thanks.
No worries at all. Good to have you. And Peter, great, a pleasure as always. Your hair looks like it's getting extra bouffanty there. What's going on? Is sort of barber?
Need a trim. Need a trim. No time with all this work, so need a trim. Definitely. Look at that. It's just far too much of it. Far too
It
much.
is, yeah. Good
I'll
volume.
go to
Good
Manscaped.
volume.
Go to
Yeah,
Manscaped,
go to
turn my head
Manscaped. Let's sort that out. Give it a shave. You end up like me. I had hair like Gar earlier on. I gave a little Manscaped. Look at it now. Another memorable fun hairstyle, Gar Brain. Gar, it's always a pleasure to have you on these
Yeah, I'm
shows.
going for this Grealish thing at the moment, as you can see. So, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Half Irish, half English, huh?
Yeah, rubs it in my face. Rubs it in my face. We do it down training. I'm there with a hat on to keep my head warm, and he's there with a Jack Grealish deal. It's an absolute sickener.
And a pair of shorts, Keith. Just throw that out there, yeah.
There you go. There you go. But listen, it's been a pleasure having the lads on. It's a game. We said we do this instead of a pre-game show tomorrow because the game it's an early kickoff. There's no point going on with the team news. We might do something for 5 minutes maybe, but we won't commit to that. We said we'd have a chat tonight. So that's been your midweek, match build-up, not midweek fix. That'll be on. The midweek fix will be on tomorrow. I know Gav is on there. I don't know who else is going to be on with him, but that'll be back on tomorrow. So we'll get some sort of post-match show with that. And I'm not sure for the rest of the week, but we'll have plenty of content to get out to you. So listen, we'll leave it there. I've been your host, Keith. This has been the Match Build-Up Show, and we'll see you all again soon.